Dagan here, and today we're here to talk about something quite special. This amp has been sat in the corner of this room for a little while, and for the people that don't know, they'll be like, what the hell is an evil robot? Why is it sat in the corner there? Why aren't you playing it more? What's it all about? And if you do know, this video is going to be a lot of fun. If you don't, I'm going to explain the history of this fantastic little amplifier, what it's all about, and just how awesome it is. So let's get into it. It's such a nifty little thing. I also get how fun this little chewy, dark amp is. So if you're unfamiliar with the evil robot in any of its incarnations, where to start? If you were watching guitar YouTube in the mid-2000s, going into the early 2010s, you might be familiar with Fretted Americana. It was one of the biggest and best shows to demo vintage guitars on the entire planet. It was a music store in LA. Yeah, it was in LA. And obviously the host of that show was the phenomenal Phil X, who you may know from Powder, The Drills, Bon Jovi, Thunder, and everywhere and everything in between. The dude's an absolute legend. And what he was using to achieve these tones back in the day was through a little tiny thing called a Tone Master. And back then, when I was a teenager, I didn't know what a clon was or the significance of a proper 59 Les Paul. For me, mythical guitar tone came through YouTube and Phil's Tone Master, which is more specifically a 5960 Magnatone Tone Master Troubadour 214. Little wonderful full valve combo, which gave him, I suppose, I think Eddie Van Halen's got loads or had loads in a warehouse somewhere because they were so coveted. It's that cranked, dirty, thick, rich harmonic, like Tweed Bassman Fender kind of tone. And it was just instantly recognizable. And I wasn't the only one thinking this. The entire world were like, Phil, that amp is amazing. Where can I get one? Where can I get one? But obviously the old vintage combos, hard to come by. So the guys at Fretted Americana were like, right, Phil, let's reissue it. So what they did, the guys and gals from Fretted Americana joined forces with the amp wizard that is John Kasha, and of course Phil X, to reimagine the mighty, smooth, Class A loveliness of an original Magnatone Tone Master Troubadour 214, but for the 21st century. And when they released it, I lost my mind. I've had this for 14 years. I bought it from Andertons when it came out, because Andertons and Fretted Americana / Tone Americana were really tight back then when everything was coming out with these amps. I got it from the guys down there, and I've loved it ever since. There are a couple of different variations. This is the, I'm going to say, more affordable one, even though it is still a full 30 watt. There's a lot of glass in here, a proper valve amp, but there was a hand wire version which looked aesthetically more similar to the Tone Master with the brown Tolex and all the gold and stuff. This is the Evil Robot C30. So it's PCB inside, but the tone's still there. And what I like about this one is the fact that there's a master volume to get the grit. Because famously, just like I've been harping on about, the hand-wired version is a faithful recreation of the Tone Master, which means it's just got 2 volumes. Proper old school 50s combo amp. So it's clean until your ears are bleeding and the windows are getting blown out of your neighbour's house. Then you get some crunch. With the C30, you could crank the channel volume, but bring it all down to a manageable level with the Master. I know Magnatone have had a resurgence recently as well, and they're fantastic amplifiers. But this is like, if you know, you know. If you know where the Evil Robot's from, and what a name for an amp. An Evil Robot. It's so cool. It's going to be hard to portray how big this amp sounds on YouTube, because YouTube compresses everything, and you're probably watching this sat on the toilet at work when you should be working. I'm miking up the custom-made Kasha 12-inch speaker with a Shure SM57, which is kind of doing justice, but it's just such a thick, chewy... This makes you want to do all those, like, bends and stuff. Everything falls into each other, like, so harmonically nice. It puts a smile on your face. Some more specs of this bad lad, like I keep saying, it is all valve. A lot of valves in here. 4 6v6s in the power amp section. You got 3 12AX7s in the preamp section, 1 12AU7, and 1 6AV6. There's a lot going on here. But it's super simple to use. Like up top, there's 2 inputs. There's a high impedance and a low impedance. Again, you'll find that on a ton of old amps. A little switch to control the brightness. This is hot. I'm touching the back now. My fan stopped working. There was like an old school fan in the back. It just gets hot. It gets warm. So if this is the last time you ever see this, it's blown up as soon as the cameras are turned off. So there's a little switch. A bright switch goes from mellow, normal, and bright. 2 loudness controls for each channel. That's essentially the channel gain. And the switchable. 2 switchable channels. You'll hear them more in a second. Master tone control. 1 tone control for the entire amp. Do you want it dark? Do you want it bright? It is a very dark amp, so I kind of tend to lean more towards the upper end. Can't speak. Full vibrato channel as well. And the effects loop. You'll hear all that in a second. But these were only made for a pretty short period of time, back in the early 2010s. So they're quite hard to get these days. And normally I'd link things in the description box down below where you can get one for yourself. But I will link similar products down there. Of course, the Andertons are going to be down there. It's kind of Fender-y when you crank it up, so some of my favourite alternatives down there, which of course are all available from today's video sponsor, and indeed this channel sponsor, Andertons. So like I said, I got this from Andertons back in 2012, 14 years ago. Hey, there might still be some cutting around down in Guildford, so I'll also include the second-hand Andertons page in the description box down there as well. But there's quite a few things that are very similar to it, but the nuances are obviously very unique. They come up every now and then, but like I say, there's some great alternatives out there with working fans. Like I say, this fan's been knackered for ages. I'll put them all in the description box to help me by helping them, and check out all the links just down there. Let's get back to the amp. Out the box, I remember when I first got it. The touch responsiveness of it, but the fact that it was so dark that in my head you always needed an overdrive to boost it and kind of tighten it up a bit to get the sound that Phil was getting in those videos. But upon growing up and realizing how combo amps work, the louder they are, the brighter and kind of more, just the harmonics fly a lot more. So to caveat that, I always had a tube screamer in the front or a Bad Monkey, the Phil X Special. I've had this just as long as the amp, but it hasn't worked in about 10 years, but I keep it for sure because it makes me happy looking at a little Bad Monkey pedal. So that's the gain is 3/4 of the way up, the tone is 3/4 of the way up. I'm going to turn the boost on as well to show you how tight it gets. The fans just started working. It knows it's on camera. Can you hear that? Look at you working for the people. It was a bit rattly, but it's working now. So this is, I'll turn the drive down a bit, so it's kind of just boosting the front end of the amp. As you can see, the brightness kind of just shines out a bit more. That's with the bright switch all the way up as well. And if I crank the tone, it does get it a little brighter. So I've always kind of run it like this, because with the gain down, this is all on channel A, or loudness A I should say. This is the gain at 10 o'clock. Still sounds great, right? But when you want a bit more, like it gains back up to 3/4 of the way up, to get that same kind of vibe, this is so responsive and reactive to your pick attack. I always just ran it so it was hotter for when I needed it, with the volume control for solos and stuff, so it was down to like 8 and that. When I needed a bit more up. It just fills the room. See, everything you've heard thus far has been in the high gain input. If I go across the low gain, it's exactly the same tone, but with a little less sizzle on top. So it kind of cuts through a bit more. It's a bit more mid-range poke. That's still with the gain on the loudness channel 3/4 of the way up. Go back to high gain because it just sounds better to my ears. Moving across to the second channel, so loudness B now. You can foot switch it, but this is just pulling out the loudness control to get channel B. Gain's still the same, 3/4 of the way up. Bit more of a, like I say, clanky. I've got to play that riff in a fill video, haven't I? Play it properly though. Again, the voice, the tone is nearly all the way up. Tone halfway up. low gain and loudness B. The gain halfway up. I'm getting more towards a clean sound. Go a bit louder there. I'm getting more towards, I mean, it is a bloody clean sound. The gain on loudness B. A bit of fear on it, isn't it? So those are pretty much the channels. I mean, the bright switch does what it says on the tin, going from mellow, normal to bright. And I got all jazzy. To normal. To bright. Bright for this room and what I'm hearing right now just sounds so much better. Now to the right hand side, you get the tremolo, which is again foot switchable. I mean, I'm not much of a tremolo player at all, besides like, probably say about that, the intro to Boulevard of Broken Dreams. It's a lovely, chewy, vintage style tremolo. Right, let's end with some proper riffs. Vibrato is fun and that, but what I like is doing this, doing that, and then going. So, ladies and gents, if you didn't know what an evil robot was at the start of this video, you sure as hell do now. I don't think I can get any more tones out of it without, I don't know, plugging in a metal zone or something. Let us know what you think down below. Did you ever get a chance to play one back in the day? They're pretty hard to find these days, and that's why I've kept a hold of it, even though it doesn't get as much love as it probably should. But let us know down there. Everything that I think is similar to this is linked in the description box just down there as well. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Dagan. See you next time.